this book better, then I need to start, because I keep banging on the book, and then when futurely is going to edit this audio, and then it's going to be a bunch of bangs of me banging the book. This is so stupid. I need to stop today. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lola, and today we will be talking about Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. Let's get started. So, the first thing I feel like needs to be said about this big, gorgeous book is that it is actually, if you haven't heard, part of a trinity. No, not a trilogy, a trinity. Because last year was the year for fanfic adaptations to be turned into books, and I feel like we can't talk about Rose in Chains without mentioning both Alchemize and the Irresistible Urge to Fall in Love with Your Enemy. And I feel like Alchemize is like the bigger, more successful cousin, and the Irresistible Urge is the actually, I think, less talked about cousin, which is insane because the Irresistible Urge is amazing. But I will not be talking about those books today. I will specifically be talking about Rose in Chains. But the reason I wanted to bring up these other two books is because I want to give my very specific take on something that has been said, and I have heard a lot about it in the book community in general. And I feel like maybe this is not wise for me to give my opinion, but I really want to, and it's about fan fiction adaptation becoming regular mainstream media books, and some people think it's wrong, some people think it's right. So I feel like I wanted to delve a little deeper into the concept of fan fiction before we start. So, first of all, as much as the name might imply, fanfiction was not invented in the 21st century's internet scenario. Fanfiction, as we call it, was not invented by teenage girls that did like BTS self-inserts. I mean, they did perfect the genre, but the idea of fan fiction is not new and has been going on in literature for decades, I think centuries even. The idea of having something that already exists and giving your specific take on it, or expanding on the universe, or even putting yourself in there is not new at all, and it is a valid form of literature as much as some people might not be into it. I feel like one of my favorite takes about it as someone that studies literature is when people say that Dante's Inferno is actually a fanfiction and it's a self-insert, because he basically creates a book in which he is reverenced by everyone and goes to heaven, and all of his enemies go to hell. This is very goofy. If it was written by a 12-year-old, I feel like people would find it weird, but because it was an Italian guy, everyone's like, yeah, this is amazing. And I love Dante's Inferno. It is an amazing and important piece of literature. But why is it that this genre is frowned upon when it's young women mostly that write it, and not seen as a bad thing when it's adult men? What is it about fanfiction that we hate? Is it the idea itself of not wanting to like reuse someone else's work, or is it because the genre is associated with young women? I feel like people should fry that in their skillets for a while, because fan fiction is the beginning of a lot of writers' careers. Many amazing books began as fan fiction. We have, for example, the pipeline of Twilight, I think, was My Chemical Romance inspired, and then 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction. And then I think something else was a 50 Shades of Grey fanfiction. But then, this is the thing. If you think about it, Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey are completely different. I have read both of them. They have nothing. They are nothing alike. You can maybe pinpoint some things that are similar. But once 50 Shades became its own thing, when you told people that it was actually Twilight fanfiction, they would just go, huh, And that's it. No one says, oh, then we should not support 50 Shades of Grey because it is Twilight fanfiction. I mean, people did not support it for other reasons, but not specifically because it is 50 Shades of Grey is fanfiction. So I feel like we need to take a step back and think, are we hating on a specific literature genre because it is a genre and it is recognized as a literary genre, or are we hating on the things it produces? I have seen really bad books that started off as fan fiction become regular, like printed books, and I have disliked them. But we need to think that this is because bad books exist. Bad books have always existed. This has nothing to do with fan fiction. Fan fiction is not necessarily producing worse books. The idea of fan fiction that appeals to so many young authors is that world building is really, really hard. And even if the person that's writing the fan fiction doesn't find it to be specifically hard, it's really hard to connect to people over something that you are making up. So, for example, I have been reading a lot of sci-fi lately and a lot of fantasy books, and I feel sometimes when I start reading a fantasy book, it feels like gibberish. You know, it feels like I'm reading, oh, and then the kingdom of blah 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 needs to find the secret demon king of la 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 to save the world from, and it feels like gibberish, and it feels like, oh no, I need to understand a whole new magic system. No, I don't want this. I want to get to the book. But then fantasy has always been like that. I remember when I was 10 and I started reading The Hobbit and I started reading Lord of the Rings, everyone said, oh, I tried reading that book, but it was really hard, so I dropped it. Because fantasy has always been hard. Fantasy has always been like a really hard nut to crack in terms of genre, and the same goes for science fiction. So the idea of being able to use something that already exists and then use this as background for your ideas, for your content, for expanding upon it, was and is like something that is really magical, because the new authors get to feel comfortable in who they are and what they are creating. So fan fiction is a really, really nice way to develop yourself as an artist. And then maybe later you can develop yourself in a way that this initial background that you were using doesn't become your whole story, but an inspiration that you use to actually continue and develop yourself. So fan fiction is really, really nice. I have seen amazing, talented writers that like would put published people to shame in how amazing they write, using an established universe, either because it is harder to create your own, or something that I have also seen, because using an established universe helps you get views, helps you get reads, because usually people sometimes are not really interested in learning something new, as I said, and they want something that they are already comfortable with, so they go to this already defined universe and they read it. So I think fanfiction is a valid genre. I think fanfiction is not evil in its nature. And I think most of the hate that comes to fanfiction is actually misogyny. Which is a wild take, but it won't be the wildest take I will have in this video. Okay. So now that we've talked a little about fanfiction and what is my opinion on the genre of fanfiction, I actually wanted to talk about a specific subgenre of fanfiction that has gained a lot of fame, which is the Harry Potter fanfiction world. So I don't think it needs an introduction, but I will give you guys one anyway. If you, for some reason, have been out of the loop, living in the woods for the past, 5 to 10 years, J.K. Rowling has exposed a bunch of like very, let's just say, controversial bad opinions recently in the last few years, and a lot of people have stopped to basically cancel her and like not support her as an author. And one of the things that happens is that one of the most famous franchises in the world when it comes to literature, Harry Potter, was quote unquote canceled. So as someone that has been like in the literary world like for a long time, I think that's actually a little funny because Harry Potter was canceled before people hated J.K. Rowling. Like a lot of, like most of my teachers and people that I've met that love literature, whenever you mention Harry Potter, they go, mm. And I remember I used to be really upset because there was like a company that sells books that I really liked, and they had the rights to Margaret Atwood, and I was like, please, please, do Margaret Atwood next. I want to read her. I want to read her. And they would just keep like reprinting Harry Potter over and over and over again. It's like 12 years edition, special edition, and I was like, no, please, I don't want it anymore. Let me be free of this tyranny. So actually people have been having some problem. Harry Potter was always controversial. So I have never read Harry Potter as a child actually because my mom used to believe that it was from the devil. I think I've read the first book, but that was it. And then I felt like I was always too old to read it. And whenever I tried to pick it up, I was like, I have watched the movies. I really like the movies. And as an older person, at some point, I had like a freak out because I was in college. I had many freak outs in college. And then I was like, I want to read something that doesn't make me feel like I want to murder someone. Because one of the things that being an English lit major does is that it sucks away the joy of reading for you, like until you become a husk. And I was like, I mean, I haven't read fanfiction for a while. Let's see what's up. And then I go and there's like a bunch of Harry Potter fanfiction that's supposed to be like amazing. And I'm like, well, maybe I will be a good judge of that because I haven't actually read Harry Potter. So that leaves me in a very specific spot. I have never read Harry Potter, but I have read many Harry Potter fanfictions. So I think I'm the perfect person to pass this judgment because everything I know about Harry Potter's world is from secondhand. It's from fanfiction. So I actually don't know if some things are real or if they were invented for the specific fanfiction. Which I guess proves the point that they are very enjoyable even if you are not particularly attuned with the original universe. No, but I've been rambling. I'm gonna get somewhere. The thing that I want to say is a lot of people do not support Harry Potter fanfiction because they do not support J.K. Rowling. And I feel like this is a judgment faux pas. Like, if you don't support her, what is more evil? And, you know, like, something like the pettiest thing you could possibly do is saying, well, you created something that I enjoy, but instead of reading your books and giving you money, I'm gonna read this person's fan fiction of your book that gives you no support, no fame, and it gives you no money. It's basic. I feel like it's perfection. If you think about it, it is perfection. Because fan fiction is almost like black market Harry Potter. It's like you're enjoying Harry Potter without having to support her. And some people feel like that's wrong because some people say that basically the media of Harry Potter is so attached to J.K. Rowling that you shouldn't like it even if it doesn't give her money. I think that's not the case because I feel like fighting against one of the biggest franchises in the world in the world of literature is a losing battle. I feel like we should think of ways to do it without giving her money and basically did not caring about her at all. So because that's why she's so inexistent in my mind that I don't think I think I read more fanfiction than I've read pages of her actual books, and the writing in the fanfictions what's better than the things I have read from her. And I feel like that's a protest. So once the Harry Potter fanfiction books started becoming actual books, pressed books, people were upset about it. And some people said that it is not correct to support fanfiction becoming literature in the first place. A lot of people said, oh, this is not real literature. And then a lot of people said, well, but I don't want to support J.K. Rowling into this. I say, then this is for you. Because this is not supporting her in any way, shape, or form. And so the people that say, well, but if I have a book that was inspired by Harry Potter, if someone reads this book and they like it, wouldn't they want to read Harry Potter? And to this I say, everyone already knows Harry Potter exists. Everyone knows about it. It's the biggest book franchise in the world. the existence of this book is not making Harry Potter more famous. Like, it's not giving it traction. No one can, everyone already knows that Harry Potter exists. Like, I don't think there's nothing you could do to make it more famous at this point. So it doesn't even matter. And I really like supporting those small niche authors. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I really enjoy supporting small authors. So I feel like if you think that supporting a book that was once a Harry Potter fanfiction is like ethically wrong, I feel like I want to bring in the take that it's not ethically wrong. It's actually ethically like the pettiest thing you could possibly do. Because all of those authors are very open about disliking J.K. Rowling. So I feel like it's a way of saying, well, Harry Potter was, I guess, I can't say if it was good or bad because I haven't read it, but like it was very loved. But we can create things that we can use the inspiration that these books have brought us to create something new. Because this was something that I always loved about Harry Potter fanfiction, is that as much as it technically has the same characters and a lot of the different, the same world building, it is years, light years away from what the book is. Like, for example, most of the fan fictions are considerably darker. They have very dark elements. And then some of them, like, if you know, like, about the tags, there are a lot of the tags which are like alternate universe, and they basically change the way things work. For example, this one is an alternate universe where they don't win the war, where they lose the war. So I'm like, well, if you're borrowing from this world and you are even changing huge things about it, that's inspiration. That's how inspiration works. So as much as because you know that this is inspired by Harry Potter and you can look at it and do lots of, oh, this is similar, this is similar, that doesn't mean that this book is less legit. That doesn't mean that this book is a copy. And that doesn't mean that supporting this book supports Harry Potter. I feel like those things are things that people should be thinking about, because don't stop yourself from enjoying literature. And indeed, if you enjoyed Harry Potter, there is a good chance you will enjoy those books because they have similar characters, they have similar things, and it's a way to enjoy the things you like without having to support a book series that has like a lot of political and ethical undertones, like negative undertones to it. So I feel like Harry Potter fanfiction is a form of protest, actually, and I will support it forever, even if saying this is not a good idea. No, but continuing this topic, I want to talk now about Rose in Chains. So Rose in Chains specifically is based on one of my favorite Harry Potter fanfictions, which is called The Auction. So for this specific book, I have read the fanfiction and the book, and the topic that I kind of want to bring is, if, like I have been talking about how, like, oh, the book doesn't need Harry Potter to exist, how does the complete version of the book that has completely severed all its ties to Harry Potter looks if we compare it to the original fanfiction that still has the Harry Potter ties into it? So, like, is this book better than, I need to stop because I keep banging on the book, and then when I'm going to, like, future me is going to edit this audio, and then it's going to be a bunch of bangs of me banging the book. This is so stupid. I need to stop doing it. Anyway, what I want to do is see if this book, now that it has been disconnected from Harry Potter, still is as good as the original fanfiction is. So first of all, I want to talk about our main characters. So our main characters are Tovin and Bryony. Bryony. It's supposed to be Hermione. So Bryony. Bryony is cute. I do like that. It's a very nice nod. It has some very similar sounds. So Tovin and Bryony are the main characters. And what Rose in Chains does that I really, really like is that it recreates the universe. So the universe is no longer kind of like not modern day, but 90s UK with touches of medieval. This book is completely medieval. So this book is no longer modern day, so no flying cars. It's medieval. Bryony is a princess, and she's really good at magic. And basically the way that it works is that it takes a twist, it takes a page out of the prophecy and the chosen one. Bryony and her brother are twins, and the prophecy was that one of them, specifically her brother, would be the chosen one that would save the realm. But the way that it works is that Bryony's brother is not good at magic. He is simply not good enough, and Bryony basically gives him her magic to make him stronger. So they go to a magic school, which is again a similar concept to Harry Potter, but it's not invented by J.K. Rowling at all. We have lots of magic schools. They go to magic school, and basically there is where she meets Tovin. He's from a different kingdom, and basically Bryony later they have a war, and Bryony tries to help her brother, but because her brother is just not the chosen one, he's not good at magic, he dies. So basically the book opens with Bryony's brother dying, and she is captured and sold at an auction, and the person who ends up purchasing her is Tovin. So basically the way that it works is that they have some interactions together, and we have some flashbacks to the time when they were students. And the idea is that Tovin is not necessarily a bad guy. He wants to help Bryony because he specifically likes her, and he wants to help her and kind of like the resistance. So basically the book is very political. It has like the resistance undertones, and basically they try to like fool the bad guys into things. So Bryony basically pretends that she's being dominated, and it's very dark because in pretending to be like basically a slave, it's like a very dark thing to do. But we see this character grow, and we see the interactions between them, which are really nice. We understand how the magic works in this world, and like how these characters were shaped from before and after the war, because we see them like flashbacks of them in school and how they were back then when they were like carefree, and then years later when they are dealing with intense political unrest, which I find it to be really, really charming. I specifically like this part of the book. And I guess in the original one, I knew who the characters were because they had names of characters from Harry Potter. In this book, I cannot look at them and say, oh, this one is this guy from Harry Potter. I cannot. I don't think I would be able to either way because I'm not specifically knowledgeable about Harry Potter, but they do seem to be very different. I feel like I did not catch the vibe that I got when I watched the movies, which is a very non-book girly thing for me to say, but I actually only watched the movies, guys. I'm sorry. So I do really enjoy the characters and the way that they go back and forth between the past and the present. I really enjoy the resistance and the way that they do things in secret and the way that they plan things. I think is really, really nice. And specifically, I really enjoy the magic system in this book. I find it to be very, very interesting, completely different from Harry Potter again. It's not actually my favorite. Like among all three of the fanfiction turn books from last year's, the only one that I haven't read is Alchemized, but that's because I favor my mental health. I have read The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, and the spoiler I can get you guys is that everything that Rose in Chains does is amazing, but The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy is even greater, and I need a bigger video to talk about it because this book is insanely good, and I think it's not talked about enough. Like, it really isn't. But going back to Rose in Chains, I really love the magic system. I really love what it does. I really love the character development. I really like Bryony. I like that the book has her as like someone that is very strong and powerful, and she kind of has to put herself down at times because of the misogyny of the universe that she's inserted in. So this book has something that I really like about it in the way that it is really well written. I have read the auction fanfiction, I believe, twice because, as I said, it is one of my favorite ones. It's not my favorite one. I don't think I should say which one is my favorite because I feel like I will be dragged to hell and back but it's one that unfortunately has not been turned into a book. But I really love the auction. Like it's really good. I really love the fan fiction. That's why I bought this book the second it came out. And does it hold itself with the fan fiction? Yes, it does. It is really, really good. What is my critic on it? The auction is a fan fiction, and because of that, if you guys haven't heard of it, fan fictions basically take forever. Fan fictions are huge. Fan fictions are not bound by the traditional, oh, I can't do a 600-page book. It doesn't matter in fanfic. That's what Alchemize is. Like, Alchemize is the biggest book I own. And I own, like, I don't know, the Bible and stuff. And this thing is hefty. This thing has double the pages of Roads of Bones. Think about it. Double the pages of Road of Bones. It's heavy. I could, like, if someone, like, if a burglar came into my house, if I chucked this at them, like, gone, unconscious, like, completely gone. This has 1,000 pages. And the reason it has 1,000 pages is that when it comes to fan fiction, people just write and until the story is over, and they don't care, oh, a traditionally published book should be this size. There is no such thing in fanfiction. So Rose in Chains is huge. And what the author, what Julie Soto, decided to do was that she was going to make it a trilogy, which is really cute, but I don't think the auction has what it takes to be a trilogy in terms of size. I think it would be wiser to make it a duology, but I think what she's doing is that she's changing the ending of it and making it into something else, into something bigger, because I feel like this universe is more complex than the Harry Potter one originally used in the fan fiction. Because if we think about it, in the original fan fiction, this happens at the end of the original 7-book series. Is it 7 books? At the end of the original 7-book series, but this one is a completely fresh start. So because of that, it has more room for growth. What do I think happened with this book? I think Rose in Chains was stretched a little thin for the first book. I think Rose in Chains is also less dark than the auction fanfiction, which I don't think it's bad, because I don't think these books should be super dark, because some of these authors are debuting their books, they're publishing them for the first time, and a lot of the publishers took a bet on publishing known fanfiction. I know that for a fact, that this is a very big bet, and it's a bet that has paid off, but I also know that usually fanfiction, because it is recluse, because it is an online thing, it's usually darker and sometimes more complex, and we usually don't find that in mainstream books. But I also think that these books are pressing it further into what is and what is not doable in traditional publishing. Because if you think about it, publishing 1,000 pages book and having it be considered an amazing book, because people who have not read the fan fiction were interested in reading Alchemize. It was a huge hit. It sold a bunch of copies. It shows us that I feel like recently we've been having a very new and refreshed scenario in the printing world, in the publishing world. Books have become one of the main hobbies for a lot of people, specifically women. Men do read, of course men read, but I feel like when you go to bookshops today, you can see that there's a shift towards genres that are usually female-centered. We can see most of the best-selling authors today, they will be towards, like, there will be a slight switch into them being like women authors instead of mostly male authors. So I feel like there have been we have a very interesting scenario in this publishing world, in this book world that we have. And I feel like these books are pushing it forward. Like, well, traditionally 1,000-page book would not sell, but like, we do not care. I mean, whatever Brandon Sanderson is doing, he's a guy, but like, oh my god, he just writes whatever. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do like, I don't know, a 20 book series. Sarah J. Maas also does some very chunky books, not the chunkiest, but very chunky. I know that there are some other, I know that Wheel of Time is also giant. Like, a lot of people have been doing like, well, traditionally people would like 250 pages books, and that's really cute, but we can also just do whatever. So I feel like authors these days are not as restricted as they used to be. Like, I feel like it's less likely that a publisher will say, oh, this is too dark, oh, this is too big, oh, this is too weird. I feel like people have been saying that, no, we will consume it, we will read it, you should be free to do whatever you want. And I find that to be really refreshing. I like looking at a book and saying, wow, this book was not meant to be like consumed, this book was meant to be enjoyed, and that as a reader makes me feel really happy. So I really like the idea of publishing fan fiction. It's something that makes me really happy, really giddy. I feel like it shows that being an author is accessible. It shows that everyone should be given a fair chance, even if maybe the genre that they're going for is frowned upon. And it also shows that we have evolved a lot past traditional publishing, and that the books are not necessarily a commodity that you can just say, oh, I don't know, this type of car sells more, so we should focus on producing that. Books have become something that, like, well, technically most books have been selling really well, a lot of people have been reading, so just do whatever and it will eventually, we will get nice numbers on that if it's good. Like, being good is more important than fitting specifically what people want. As much as I know that a lot of books have been coming really similar, we have been having like a huge romantasy bubble where all of the main characters are poor thieves, the chosen one at the same time. But I feel like this has always been a thing. I remember when love triangles used to be all the rage, and now fated maids are all the rage, and then gothic books were all the rage. This will pass. So don't worry if you really dislike the current romantasy bubble. It will pass. We will have something new in like a year or two, because we switch so fast because of social media. So my final review on Rose and Chains is that I give it a solid 4 roses out of 5. I think it's a must read. I think if you enjoy dark fantasy books, you will like it. This one is lighter than the other 2 ones, and it doesn't have, I must say, the personality that the Irresistible Urge has, or the political strength of Alchemized from what I've heard, but it is a really good book. And I feel like if we judge it separately from like the other 2 books, because it is, I feel like, the weakest of the 3 other fanfiction books that we've had, specifically Harry Potter fanfiction books that we have, but it is strong when it comes to other books I read. I actually read This Little Gem last year, and I remember being really upset because I wanted to read the second one, and the second one will actually be out in a while. Like, I think it will be out in July, and I remember sitting down and being like, this is one of the best things I've read this year. Nothing is gonna top that. And then reading The Irresistible Urge and being wow. So I really love this book. It is a darling. It might not be the most wow, super interesting when you compare it to the other 2, but it is an amazing read. I feel like if you are into romance, if you are into fantasy, if you are into like well-constructed characters, this is definitely something you should add to your TBR. And I think this book is not as famous as it deserves to be. I think this book should be famous. I think it got a lot of like, oh, it's just Harry Potter fanfiction. Do not do that to me. This book deserves better. This book is really good. I feel like you guys should try and take a shot at it. Okay, so that was my opinion on Rose and Chains. I feel like a less heated video because I don't hate it, and it's not a weird book. It's a very common, really nice book that I love, but I want to talk about the books I love too, and I really enjoyed this one, so I hope you have enjoyed this video. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.